Vocabulary is the most important thing in language learning, simply because if you don't know the words, you can't understand the language and you, of course, won't be able to speak it either. So you need to learn as many words as possible, as fast as possible. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to do it. Let's take Russian as an example, which is a pretty difficult language compared to the more common languages to learn, like Spanish or French. Not because of the writing system. Writing system is a piece of cake. That's pretty easy. But it's the problem is vocab and grammar. But grammar, let's not talk about that. Grammar is easy if you do it right. Vocab is a big problem. There are a lot of words, most words, that are very different from English. So you need to learn them fast. And the best way to do it is this: you take a list of sentences, a massive list of sentences, like this one, that contains all the vocabulary and grammar that you need, thousands of sentences about pretty much any topic that can come up in conversation or in usual, like, normal situations. And you learn all the vocab in the text. How? Well, you come here to the vocab part. So this is the vocab. These are the words in Russian, here in English. All the words, all the individual words that are included in this text show up. Like, this is a list of the whole vocabulary. So in order of frequency, by the way. So you get, this is I, so it's the most common one. It appears 3,000 times, more than 3,000 times. And then you see that quickly the frequency of the words drops. So, and if you keep going down, you will notice that there's over 10,000 words here of vocabulary, but you can see that after 500 words, these words show up only 20 times or so. So it's very it's going to be very difficult to learn them by simply seeing them in context over and over because they don't show up enough. So what you need to do is use mnemonic associations. What are mnemonic associations? Well, you take a word, and by the way, I don't recommend you do it with these ones because these ones are so common that you learn them in context, and also they are grammar words. They don't really, you can't really picture anything with this. Maybe she, you can, or us, but yeah, whether you would ignore those. Let's go to nouns and verbs, which are the most important words. Those are the words that give meaning to a sentence. So you start learning nouns and like work, работе. You visualize work, whatever you work. Hopefully you work, if, but you create a mental image for work. This is работе here. That's how you pronounce this. You find something in English that sounds like this, like a robot, for example, and you imagine robot working. Create a You go to your workplace, but you've been replaced by a robot. Not nice, but it's visualizable, right? You can actually visualize it. Can you see it? Like, your boss is really happy. He doesn't have to pay you anymore. You're fired. Now the robot's going to do your work, uh, which might probably happen to a lot of us eventually. Not to me, but because I'm my own boss. But uh, yeah, so once you create that mental image, tomorrow you'll probably remember that Rabote was work. And you keep doing this with as many words as necessary. You do it with 20, 30, 50 a day, 100 a day, more. You create these associations. You don't need to write anything. You just simply create a mental image, and if you visualize it well, it'll stick, at least for a few days. But the way to make it stick longer is to simply take this, and then you take the audio files that come with the text and you listen to it over and over again, and you shadow it, and you do listening and shadowing after memorizing more vocab. So every day you just learn 50 words more from the list, and then 50 more, 50 more, or 100 more, or 20 more. Even 20 is not like, if you do 20 every day for a month, that's 600, and that's already quite a lot, because uh, the more you learn from there's a reason why we're doing it from top to bottom, because if you learn the most common words, uh, you understand more of the text already. But again, you or the audio files, so you listen to it over and over throughout the day, and then shadowing, which is you listen and repeat each sentence 5 times. Yeah, 5 reps. You take a sentence, you repeat it 5 times. Next one, you repeat it 5 times while listening to it. So you're working on your pronunciation and all that. But for for vocabulary, this is the best way to review what you've been memorizing. If you just memorize the mnemonics, most of them will fade. Like eventually, you'll just forget them. They'll stick short term only. Some of them will stay. Like I've got some wacky associations I created like a decade ago, and I still remember the words, even if I've never used them ever in conversation, or never see them in any. I've never heard them, and yeah, but for some reason the association was so good at it. But if you do it with thousands of them, you're not going to remember all of them. So you use mnemonic associations to uh, retain, like remember them, like store them in your short-term memory, and then you use input to see those words in context. You hear those words in context, and that works for reviewing, and you remember them long term. Yeah. So mnemonics first, input second, to reinforce what you've memorized, and you keep doing that over and over, and you can learn thousands of words in a matter of weeks if you do this. If you do it long enough. If you get good at mnemonics, of course. If you're doing it with 10 words a day, it's going to take longer. But if you can do over 100 a day, you can learn thousands of words very, very fast. And this is how you can learn uh, all the vocab you need to speak a language well relatively quickly.